All right, let's run it up. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. Coming up on today's show, some Niners trade rumors and NFL trade buzz from ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter. Of course, the man here to my right. We're going into Week 7. Niners will host the Falcons on Sunday Night Football. The NFL trade deadline is after Week 9, going into Week 10, just to give you something to look out for here. And when you look at this Niners roster right now, I think there are some deadline needs for San Francisco, of course, right? Pass rush help after the injury to Nick Bosa. And I say pass rush, not just specifically defensive end or defensive tackle, but in general. It wouldn't surprise me if the Niners made a move or moves to help improve the pass rush in general. Overhauling that unit, not to an overwhelmingly crazy level, right? But to make it better because you're without Nick Bosa. And so wouldn't surprise me if the Niners bring in a defensive end and or a defensive tackle, because both those positions could really help San Francisco get after the quarterback. That's been an issue with the 3 full games without Nick Bosa. After the Fred Warner injury, of course, middle linebacker becomes a big need for San Francisco. Tatum Bethune is going to start against the Falcons, and he's not the athlete that Fred Warner is. Very few players are. But what he does bring the defense is something that makes Warner a special player. Feel, the ability to read and diagnose plays, be at the right spot at the right time, and diagnose what is happening. That's why he's a middle linebacker, because Robert Saleh has confidence in relaying the play call to him for Bethune to then relay that play call to the defense and really take ownership of how the defense aligns and how that defense performs. And so I'm excited to watch him play because I like watching players who can really produce and be in the right spot at the right time with football IQ and smarts without some of that aforementioned athleticism, which obviously can just help players out, and sometimes they don't have those football smarts. And then along the offensive line, huge need for this football team. Unfortunately, though, you're not going to be able to trade for a center, trade for a guard, because other teams across the NFL, even if they're selling, they want to fortify their offensive line. They don't want to get rid of quality offensive linemen, because you think about it, those bad teams either have a young quarterback usually or are looking for a new quarterback in the following draft, in the 2026 draft. And so they want to protect that young signal caller, and they know that offensive linemen are such important pieces. I wish Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch looked at it that way as well. And a reason why I talk about trade buzz a lot for San Francisco. In the offseason, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, this front office, this organization, they've been really aggressive in trying to improve their team. That's by way of trades, but also in free agency. But there is a track record under John Lynch, under Kyle Shanahan, of the Niners making notable in-season trades, making moves, bringing in players who have really helped them. In 2019, they needed a wide receiver on an otherwise stacked team. They trade for Emmanuel Sanders, really good player for that Niners team. I wish Jimmy Garoppolo hit him in the Super Bowl. 2020, they traded for Jordan Willis. That move was made in October. And the Niners ended up having a bad year because they were so injured. What's new? Still an issue nowadays. But Jordan Willis that year gave them some defensive line depth. He was then suspended for PEDs. In his remaining years with the Niners, though, he did have an important role on special teams, but also at defensive end and defensive tackle. In 2021, the Niners needed some pass rushing help. They traded for Charles Omenihu. He wasn't really working out with the Houston Texans. A good player for the Texas Longhorns. He comes to the Niners, and Chris Kocurek really had him playing great ball. He played so well for San Francisco, ended up getting a nice contract with the Kansas City Chiefs. In 2022, Elijah Mitchell was hurt. Elijah Mitchell wasn't the same guy who he was in 2021. And the Niners made one of the most marquee important trades in the history of the organization, trading for Christian McCaffrey. He changed the offense that year. They didn't lose the game that he started up until the NFC Championship game when Brock Purdy got hurt. And then in 2023, Offensive Player of the Year. Only plays 4 games last year. Offense struggles. He's back, and he's one of the leaders in all-purpose yards. And then in 2023, this move got mixed results, but San Francisco needed a pass rusher again. They traded for Chase Young. Had good moments. Other times he loafed and was lazy. In the Super Bowl, he played well, but he ended up being a pretty solid player for San Francisco. And so do not rule out an in-season move for the Niners, because right now they clearly need to make a move or moves after the injuries, devastating blows in losing Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. Now, Kyle Shanahan did say yesterday, and he has said a couple of times, he's hinted at this, that the Niners want players who can help the Niners this year in 2025, but also next year. They know that they reset the organization this offseason. They rebuilt the defense. They have a young wave of players for who they drafted in 2024, 2025. Both those draft classes looking pretty damn good. And so the Niners know that they're not probably the best team in the NFL, maybe not even an elite team. It's hard to be that when you lose Nick Bosa and Fred Warner because they're such dominant players. They also know they need to make some moves and that the NFC is wide open and that the NFC West is there to be had. But they don't want to sacrifice dollars and draft capital to overpay for a player who's only a rental. So keep that in mind as well. John Lynch last week, of course, before Fred Warner was lost for the year, was on the radio and did say we're having productive conversations as far as making a move to help out our defense. It is a fair question to ask. How does the Fred Warner injury alter the Niners' plans? If he was still on the field and you only needed a pass rusher, it might change what the Niners think about this team. But losing Bosa and Warner might also alter what they think of the outlook for the 2025 Niners. They probably might be saying, I don't know if we can win a Super Bowl without both those players, so we might not make the big splash move. But whether the Niners make moves or other teams across the NFL make moves, I'll tell you this, moves are going to happen. Here's what Adam Schefter had to say about NFL trades potentially happening here as we approach the deadline. In a copycat league where teams constantly are striving to improve, general managers already have begun exploring additional trades. And based on recent years, there could be at least another dozen to come, league sources told ESPN. Over the past 6 years, in the month of October, leading up to the trade deadline, the NFL has had 88 trades, an average of just under 15 per year. The NFL trade deadline has become as busy as the deadlines in the NBA and Major League Baseball. The uptick in trade activity, in the opinion of many sources across the league, has come for a variety of reasons. One reason, the younger, more aggressive general managers in the NFL. Many of the previous generation of GMs did not believe in trading players midseason and having new players come in to learn their systems. Obviously, that has changed, and obviously the Niners haven't worried about that. Schefter and ESPN did put together a list of players who are trade targets all across the NFL. And obviously, some of these players will be of interest for San Francisco, others not. But I want to inform you as an NFL fan. Kirk Cousins, backup quarterback for the Falcons. Russell Wilson, now a backup quarterback for the Giants. Breece Hall, running back for the Jets. He's a stud. Jets are terrible. Alvin Kamara, one-win Saints, running back for New Orleans. Jaylen Wright, running back for Miami. Devin Singletary, running back for the Giants. Chris Olave, talented wide receiver for the Saints. Concussion issues scare me, though. Rashid Shaheed, electrifying vertical threat, wide receiver also for the Saints. Jakobi Meyers, contract year, wide receiver for Las Vegas. Allen Lazard, big-bodied wideout for the Jets. Tyler Lockett, older player. Niner fans know him well. He was great for the Seahawks for a long time. He's currently playing with Tennessee. Brandin Cooks, wide receiver for New Orleans. Mark Andrews, tight end for Baltimore. David Njoku, tight end for Cleveland, has gotten some Niners buzz, but frankly, with George Kittle returning to practice this week and the rise of Jake Tonches, I don't think you need to make a move there. Chig Okonkwo, tight end for Tennessee. Evan Neal, offensive tackle for the Giants. That would be a big one for San Francisco, but he's injured a lot, and I can't deal with it anymore. Joe Bitonio, offensive guard for Cleveland. Wyatt Teller, offensive guard for Cleveland. Ethan Pocic, the center for Cleveland. They're also another bad team. You got Kevin Zeitler, offensive guard for the Titans. Trey Hendrickson, edge rusher for Cincinnati. Obviously, he's the apple of my eye. Keion White, defensive end, New England. Cam Jordan, defensive end, New Orleans. Shelby Harris, interior defensive lineman for Cleveland. Bradley Chubb, the edge rusher for Miami. Miami, a one-win team. Jaelan Phillips, also of the Dolphins. Arden Key, former Niner. That could be an option. Scheme familiarity with San Francisco. Anfernee Jennings, linebacker for New England. Dre'Mont Jones, linebacker, Tennessee. Riq Woolen, cornerback, Seattle. Maybe a buy low. Get that player playing like he did in his rookie year when he was the NFL interceptions co-leader. And then 3 more. Roger McCreary, cornerback Tennessee, Kyle Duggar, safety New England, and Tony Adams, safety for the Jets. Now, I am going to pass along this grouping of Niners players who could be trade candidates for other teams. The Giants are said to be interested in Jaylen Jennings. They have a rookie quarterback in Jackson Dart. They want to support him. They're now without Malik Neighbors for the rest of the year. And did you see how they bullied the Eagles? They'd love to bring in another bully in Jaylen Jennings to fit that culture. Brandon Ayuk, is he ever going to come back? Is he not coming back because the Niners don't want him back? Is he still unhappy with San Francisco? Conflicting reports on that on Monday. Jason Pinnock and Jair Brown are on this list in case a team needs a safety, because clearly the Niners like Marquise Siegel and Malik Mustafa. They could roll with those 2 young players as starters, fulfill backups with the practice squad or a vet in free agency, and trade one of Jason Pinnock or Jair Brown. So with that, my poll question is this, and it just has to do with your fandom for the Niners, right? Who is your favorite Niners player ever? For me, it's Fred Warner. That's why I'm so gutted that he's lost for the year. I was speechless when that injury happened, but share your thoughts with me on your favorite Niners player down in the comment section right now. More to get to here on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Continue to be a real one and hang out here with us. But let me get to our sponsor, Prize Picks. We appreciate them for making today's 49ers Report possible. America's #1 fantasy sports app. Predict, pick, and play with Prize Picks. Available in 45 states all across America. You can get your picks in less than 60 seconds. It's easy to play. All you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can win some big-time money. Turn your takes into cash with Prize Picks and join the millions of users and sign up for America's #1 fantasy sports app. They also have some new features here. Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Josh Allen's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns, for instance. Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. Follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app. Copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just somebody whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. 2-pick power play for some Sunday Night Football. This Falcons team is going to be a hard offense to stop, especially led by Bijan Robinson. Bijan McCaffrey, 2 of the best all-purpose backs in the NFL right now, 2 of the best overall weapons. So let's ride with more on 80.5 rushing yards for Bijan, more than 54.5 receiving yards for Christian McCaffrey. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Now, here on this show, and a lot of you can agree with me on this, we love Brian Baldinger of the NFL Network. He just does such a great job of breaking down film with Baldy's breakdowns, but he's also a great football mind. And he was on the radio this morning in the Bay Area, and he was asked, what would you do if you were John Lynch? Here's what Baldy had to say. If they want to be competitive, they got to make a move. If they sit and just say, we're going to develop our young guys, we're sitting tight like that, no. Like, if I'm John Lynch, you got to make a move. And I agree. The 49ers need to make a move. Their pass rush hasn't been good enough. If you want to try to get by with the young linebackers on this team, Tatum Bethune, Nick Martin, I get that. But up front, it can just change the next 2 levels of your defense if you get a pass rusher. So if you don't trade for a linebacker, I'm cool with it. You need to upgrade the pass rush. And the Niners right now are 4-2. They have a winnable game against Atlanta. Obviously, that game now more difficult than what we thought going into the season. When we saw the schedule, that's the NFL. Things change year over year dramatically. But right now, I think you can make the argument the Niners are one of the best teams in the NFC. What's unfortunate about the Nick Bosa and Fred Warner injuries, if they were healthy, you could make the argument the Niners could be the best team in the NFC because you take them up against almost everybody in the conference, if not everybody. But I still think that point kind of stands, right? Because the NFC is wide open. It is there for the taking. And I know you want to continue to usher in this new era of young Niners players, and you want them to get valuable experience, and you want them to develop. But isn't it awesome if you can have those young players develop, getting a lot of snaps, improving before your very eyes, while also potentially getting some playoff experience, I mean, this NFC West is there to be had. The Niners are already 3-0 inside the NFC West. That's a big reason why, because of tiebreakers, they're still in first place in this division at 4-2. Now, the Seahawks and Rams are also there at 4-2, but the Niners have beaten the Seahawks, Rams, and Seahawks. And then when you look at the NFC playoff picture, these are the top 10 seeds. It is so jumbled and competitive right now. Another reason why the NFL is so much fun to watch. It's a league of parity. And look how competitive this conference is. I mean, the Niners, with a bunch of injuries, losing Fred Warner and turning the ball over a ton with horrible offensive line play, nearly beat the Bucs. Well, the Buccaneers are the number 1 seed at 5-1. I like how the Niners match up with Green Bay. Green Bay, 2nd seed, 3-1-1. The Niners, the number 3 seed in the NFC at 4-2. Eagles right now aren't playing well. They've dropped 2 games in a row. You already beat the Seahawks. They're the 5 seed. The Lions against the Niners, that was a great NFC Championship game back in 2023. And the Lions are without 2 elite OCs and DCs. And, obviously they won those 4 games in a row after that opening week loss against the Green Bay Packers, but they didn't look that good against Kansas City on Sunday Night Football. The Rams are there in the 7th spot at 4-2. Niners beat them with a bunch of backups. The Falcons 3-2. Big game between the Niners and the Falcons coming up on Sunday Night Football. The Niners will play the Falcons. They'll play the Bears. You also have the Vikings there at 3-2. And so on top of that, one of my week 6 observations, if you were to ask me, Chase, who plays in the Super Bowl in February? Super Bowl 60, Levi Stadium, Santa Clara. I think the Niners are going to put on a great event. It's going to be better than the Super Bowl that was there several years ago, because a lot of events are actually going to be in San Francisco, not spread out. Santa Clara, San Jose. I think San Francisco, the Bay Area, they're going to crush it, right? But Chase, who's going to play in that game? I have absolutely no idea. I mean, right now, I feel the most confident in the Chiefs, once again representing the AFC. To start the year, we were saying they're so talent deficient. This is as bad of a Chiefs team talent-wise as we've seen under Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, which still might be true. But they still have Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Steve Spagnuolo. The defense is playing well. They've actually gotten it together. They're going to get Rashid Rice back this week. That helps out the pass game. Buffalo, with that defense, they can't beat Kansas City, in my opinion. And then everybody else in the AFC, I don't have confidence that they're going to beat the war-torn, battle-tested Chiefs in the NFC. We just broke it down. Who the hell is going to represent the NFC? Now, obviously, things will clear up as the season progresses, but that's another reason why the Niners should go all in, because the NFC is wide open. And so, not a great team in the NFL right now. There are chances there to be had for San Francisco here, which is good news for Niner fans out there who are feeling a little bit down after losing Warner, after losing Bosa, and after that Buccaneers loss. I try to be the voice of reason. You know what I'm saying? And I try to be the voice of reason here on YouTube and on social media. Give me a follow over there, and I'll, of course, continue to see you here.